All right. So welcome everybody. We've got a lot of interesting stuff to explore. I think one of the interesting paths that has been on the back burner for a while, but oft talked about, the journey to the Isle of Arranway, has been undertaken, and so the group of heroes from Etraine have made their journey up north through the Verduran forest and up the Selen River uh, by the generous assistance of a group of fisher folk. Uh, you all have been born to the Isle's shores, um, and I think when you all had approached, you approached from the southern side of the Isle. As you on your approach, you saw running up and down the river, both the Selen River and the Selen Fork that extends off to the the east. Uh, Lots of traffic of all manner of trade vessels, of lumber barges, of um, Talden River Guard patrol boats, sort of military patrol boats, and and you all have braved the river, all the while sort of watching on as the lumber bargemen sort of shout out with jovial revelry, that all the splendor of the successes that they're having, hauling massive loads of lumber down south towards Casimir, the major Talden port and shipyard hub of the Talden Empire. Um, the backbone, if you will, of the Talden Navy. But you all sort of disembarked from your generous fisher folk friends' canoes onto the beach there. The Talden Riverguard post off sort of to the northwest of where you are. If you were to sort of look over to the left around the curvature of the Isle and a low ridge to your left, you'd see the Talden flag kind of jutting out over the next ridge to the left there, and immediately in front of you, you see, while you've got the winds coming off of the lake, the cold winds. It's a little bit of a chilly day. They blow across your back as you look ahead, where the beach. It's a very short beach, and it runs up from the water into what amounts to a hedge wall, made of mostly trees, but also sort of thick shrubbery and flora more generally. A tangled mass of vegetation, and there's a procession of individuals on your right-hand side coming from the beach. They're mostly wearing simple garb, and many of them are bearing straw baskets. They make their way from what looks like to you a fishing net trap of some sort, and they seem to be sort of traveling in a loose procession up toward an opening in that hedge wall that I mentioned. Around the opening that you see them heading toward, there is an intricate and beautiful lattice work of interwoven branches that form the shape of an archway, with dormant-looking flower buds adorning its structure. And standing guard, it appears, at the opening is a fur-cloaked humanoid, though it's tough to tell exactly their nature from this distance away. A fur-cloaked humanoid with a tall and lithe stature, You can tell that much. Who seems to be flanked on either side of this opening in the hedge wall by a pair of what appear to be humanoid-looking wooden statues. Each of those statues holding a club and a shield at the ends of each of its long arms. They don't stand stock still. You can see those wooden figures sort of, swaying slightly with the wind, perhaps, or just swaying slightly on their feet. And so that's what you guys observe. You all are standing on the shores of the island there. What do you do?
Are you familiar at all with this area? Oh, he's not on yet.
Oh, yeah. I thought he was there. I saw him. Yes, Shibello would approach what looks like maybe the opening or entrance, maybe the archway.
Okay, so Shibello starts plodding his way up the beach toward the opening in the hedge wall. It sounds like.
Yes.
All right. Do any of your of the companions
Eulogy follows.
follow after him? All right.
Yeah.
Sagan follows.
All right. Very good. So as you all make your way further up the beach, it doesn't take long for you all to be kind of noticed by the other sort of, like I mentioned, simple garbed individuals that are making their way up the beach, and some of them stop to sort of observe you guys, but you stroll on up, and as you do, you are greeted from maybe about a 15-20 foot distance by the fur-cloaked individual with the sort of thick fur trim around the hood of the cloak, still sort of held over or covering the individual's head. You hear a voice call out, saying, "Hail, newcomers! What brings you to our shores?"
I'll say hello in Druidic. See if they seem to recognize the language.
Oh, certainly, yeah. So this tall, you see now, Shibello, as you approach, this tall woman. It seems fair-skinned woman with maybe some blonde hair that you see peeking out from from underneath her fur cloak hood. She has these blue tattoos going in sort of curved lines down each side of her face, sort of cutting through her eyes, or where her eyes are on her face, and she says, she replies to you in Druidic, "Oh, a friend of the earth spirits and the world soul." Friend.
Yes, I am. In continuing in Druidic, Shibello will say, "I am Shibello Bright Tusks," and he'll gesture towards everyone, and these are my companions. And then he'll switch back to common, just so everyone can understand, and say, "We've come to Etraine, seeking knowledge and answers to questions that we have."
Shibello Bright Tusk and his friends, welcome. Though...
Hello, I'm one of the friends. I'm Eulogy. It's good to be here.
Hello. So This woman seems to sort of scan you all for a moment, and she turns her attention back to Shibello as she says, Shibello, you say you've come to answer questions. What questions are those?
Oh, mostly just some information. I won't get into too many of the details. Just wanted to see what the Druids of the Wild Wood Lodge knew.
Well, the Druids of the Wildwood Lodge, if you've heard of us, know quite a lot, as we've been entrusted with quite a lot. The safekeeping of the largest bastion of natural magic in the known world. Certainly, whatever questions you have may find answers here, but I ask you again, what brings you here? Speak plain.
Is she saying this all in common or in Druidic with Shibello?
She's saying it in common.
Oh. Then Virgil will pipe up and say, well, we've come to seek knowledge and possible assistance with an issue going on near in the forest near Sonatron. There's a blight that is plaguing the area, and it seems to have supernatural sources that we're a bit unsure how to proceed.
Yeah.
You said the woodlands near Sonatron. Where is this? I've not heard of it before.
It's a couple of days ride north of Casimir.
So at the mention of
Southern
Casimir,
Verdurin.
at the mention of Casimir, and the realization that you're talking about a Taldan town, the woman seems to sort of, her stature kind of, or disposition kind of stiffens a bit, and she says, "Oh, the Taldans find themselves beset by a blight?"
Yes, it's not super widespread yet, as far as I know, but it's getting worse.
Yes, well, they the Taldans are not known for their ability to maintain their natural resources. Nonetheless, it sounds like you have good intentions, wanting to see the natural world restored. What is the nature of this blight? You said it manifests supernaturally.
Yes, all of the nature in the forest and the woods is all corrupted, and including the wildlife. Creatures have been mutated almost beyond recognition of their original forms, and the plant life is changed, and it all is disease-looking and strange.
And what is it that you expect to learn here, friend of Shibello?
Well, we hope that you might. Well, we were able to learn that ley lines have been corrupted, and that's just something that our group here is not super aware of how to address. We have no idea how to restore the ley line.
Well, ley lines are fonts of terrible and powerful magic. Taming one is no small feat, and corrupting one an even greater. Unfortunately, I don't think I can grant you access to this Isle of Erenway.
Surely there must be some
Where's
mistake
that?
in that. Could you please? Why would you bar us from trying to help heal these woods?
She turns with these questions. She turns to Shibello and she looks back at you all and she says, "Surely your friend Shibello has heard of the Treaty of the Wildwood and the inviolable sanctuary that the Isle of Erenway is meant to represent for the Wildwood Lodge and the powerful spirits of nature that find refuge here where they find not elsewhere. No, agents of Taldor, you can go find refuge at the fort." And she sort of points her arm up to the west, where you all had seen the encampment or the fort of the Talden River Guard, just over the ridge.
Well, to clarify, we are not designated agents of Taldor. We are here specifically because we think the solution to the problem may harm those who are harming the Verduran Forest.
She regards you and she steps forward towards you, Virgil, and she starts to reach out her hand in your direction. Do you react to it at all?
No, Virgil has no idea what. I mean, he's going to hold out his own hand because he's going to assume maybe she's trying to do a greeting.
Okay, so she doesn't return, she doesn't embrace your hand at all. She reaches past your hand, your outstretched hand, and she sort of tugs at a chain around your neck, and she pulls from that chain the emblem of knighthood that you have, and she turns it over, and etched into the emblem on the back is the emblem of the Empire of Taldor, and she sort of dismissively once she sees this, she dismissively kind of lets go and almost half tosses it back against your chest and steps away, and she says, "Agents of Taldor or not, the fort is that way."
So Thrawn will speak up and he'll start speaking in Druidic to try to reason with her and say, the information that we learned from the Isle of Erenway is paramount. We're not here to hurt the forest. If anything, we want to help better it. I mean, my friend, and he'll gesture to Oliander, is of the forest. He's Fey, and he himself wants to learn about his family and try to help them. Can you not please reconsider?
So she said she looks over at Oliander and sees his small person kind of tucked away behind a couple of the others who have maybe been a little bit more aggressively approaching, and she picks him out and she says, "Ah, come forth.
Hello, my name is Oliander Nyx. What they say is true. They do have good intentions. I myself was held as a slave in Casimir for 10 years, and they recently freed me, and they offered to help me in, getting all the way back here and trying to learn about my home, and in turn I am helping them with hopefully trying to fix this, blight that is corrupting the forest. And I know the rules, I know the treaty, I know all of it, but this really is our only hope of trying to save the forest.
All right. Let me just roll something real quick for this woman. Oh, okay. So, she regards you, Oliander. Go ahead and roll a persuasion check with advantage.
Mr. Persuasion?
I'm gonna judge the shit out of these dice.
Ooh! Wow!
Wow.
Good roll.
Is meant to be.
Pretty persuasive.
Yeah. So great. Yeah. So this woman, she looks you up and down, and she looks in your eyes, Oliander, and she says, "Well, if Savra herself has seen fit to gift you, little one, fey friend, a thorn of the dusk rose, then you are welcome here." And you see that her eyes kind of shoot down towards your waist, where you hold the your short sword, and she when you look back up at her, she sort of raises her eyebrows twice in a sort of like friendly a friendly manner, and she stands back up from having taken a knee to interact with Oliander, and she turns over to Shibello and the rest of the group, and she says, "Shibello, it seems that you and your friends are friends of the lodge, and you may enter. But
So. Oh, go ahead.
But you, Shibello, Bright Tusk, and Oliander, I will hold both of you responsible for the actions and words of your other friends here, your Taldan friends. Be mindful that they do not disturb what is better left untouched."
Does that mean you will not hold me accountable for what I do?
Eulogy, you said it was?
Yes.
Eulogy, if you step out of line, you will be killed.
Oh, good. Good. I like a good hard line to not step over.
See that you observe it.
We'll give a slight, she'll also give a slight bow and said that, in Druidic, there's nothing to worry about. They're friends of the forest, this world, and the worlds beyond.
I hope so. And so she turns around and steps back toward the entryway, and you see the other sort of procession of individuals who had been making their way up toward the hedge wall. Most of them had kind of stopped to sort of look on at this whole interaction, and when the woman turns around the wind kind of blows back her hood off of her head, and her blonde hair flashes out and flutters. Long, long sort of golden blonde hair blowing in the wind, and she steps forward to the two wooden statues, and she seems to speak some kind of incantation to each of them, and then turn, as she's still speaking, she turns in your direction and sort of looks like she's pointing you all out, and then she gestures for you all to step forward.
I'll do so.
All right.
Sagan, you're like some kind of wizard, right? You read a lot of books?
Yes, I do in fact enjoy reading it from time to time.
Okay, perhaps you can tell me, what does inviolable mean?
That wasn't in any of my books.
Well, I guess it'll remain a mystery. I'm definitely not asking her what it means. Inviolable. Inviolable.
All right. So, you all, it sounds like you all go ahead and step forward.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Take a step.
So as you come forth, you the first of you step forward, and you say, and as you do, the woman sort of puts her left hand up, and she says, "If you are asked, you may say that Myrna Ramstad granted you access to the Isle."
Thank you very much, Myrna. I do have a question, real quick, if maybe you could answer.
Oh, yes. What is that?
I'm just curious, as I have never been to the Wildwood Lodge. Do you all have any record keeping of, like a library or place of where the knowledge is actually kept?
She, a smile, sort of, it flashes across her face, and she reaches out her hand, and she sort of rested on your shoulder, Shibello, and she says, "Shibello, you've spent too much time among those soft, mushy-brained, civilized folk. No, we don't have any libraries. Not the sort that you are imagining. No, we don't cut down our trees to scribble down passing thoughts. The important thoughts are captured within the spirits and minds of our standing and living trees. You won't find any library here, but there is more knowledge than any to be found elsewhere in this world."
That I believe. But how does one get the knowledge? Do we ask people?
She gets
first
this.
time here.
She gets this kind of confused look on her face, and she responds to you in Druidic, and she says, "Were you not taught the ways to commune with all living things?"
Not specifically. I kind of just became what I am, and by the grace of Gazra, my powers or my abilities were bestowed upon me.
The grace of Gazra,
no.
you say? I've not known her to be particularly graceful. But
well, I have my life because of her, so I consider that grace.
Call it what you will. But if you lack the ability to commune yourself, you might seek out Valinar the Green. He presides here, over the lodge and over the island, and may see fit to assist you. Or he might not. Probably not. In fact, don't talk to him. He won't help you. Rather, you might want to talk to Keto Wan.
Keto Wan.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, okay then. Keto is a Tien human, dark hair, friendly smile, cute dog that follows him around.
Is there a specific part of the lodge that he is normally in?
He passes his time near the heart tree and around the lodge itself. Just follow the path.
All right. Thank you much. So bow and begin to walk away.
All right. So you all sort of make your way past the hedge wall, and as you do, you step through, and when you do, the air around you immediately feels like it warms up. You step through, and the sun hanging high in the sky seems like it shines just a bit brighter. The cold air that had been blowing around is replaced by a gentle, warm breeze. All around you see the kind of more withered and dormant blades of grass that had sprung up just on the edge of the sandy beach give way to verdant and vibrant green grass that spreads its way before you, and what you couldn't see from outside when you were even a distance away from the island itself is that there's sort of rolling hills of the island before you with trees, stands of trees kind of interspersed here and there, and a simple path that leads forward, sort of winding its way through the gentle rolling hills and woodland before you. It feels like you've stepped into springtime, and it feels nice. Now, as you proceed along the path, you can't help but feel like you notice these creatures off in the distance that you've never seen before. They are kind of short, maybe just a little bit shorter than Oliander. They are short, plant-looking creatures in all different sort of sizes and shapes and configurations that some look like flowery figures. A few look more cactus-like. There's some that resemble ferns and conifers and all manner of different types of shrubs and plant life, and they seem to just be frolicking and and enjoying their time, socializing amongst themselves, and so you follow this sort of loose procession of the fisher folk, I guess, the people bearing the baskets of fish from the beach, and you find your way past a couple of small huts to a large 2-story wooden structure that is set into the base of a large tree, and the structure itself is seems to be made of melded living tree branches that have been sort of shaped in a way that resembles a structure, a building, and it's held just up off of the forest floor here by from what you can see, numerous redwood trunks that seem to be just sort of popping up underneath the structure. And as you all approach there, you see a familiar face. That familiar face being that of the trio: Sagan Ataverde, and his friends Gokum and Desba, and they're sort of set up almost like like they're just hanging out outside of a gas station, right? They're posted up just outside of the wooden structure, kind of on the right hand side, and the three of them, the sort of young human, the tall and sort of burly, brusque looking centaur Gokum, as well as the the tiny pixie Desba, they just seem to be enjoying each other's company and joking around, and without a care in the world, Sagan turns and notices you all, and he was sort of mid swig of a water skin, and he sees you all, and he just surprised, he just showers Gokum, his centaur friend, with a mist of spit water, and he looks over in your direction and he says, "Well, shit! What are you all doing here?"
Oh, God, I hate this guy. Well, yep, you go ahead. I don't want talking.
Just visiting Aaronway.
Just visiting? What do you mean, just visiting? Nobody visits Aaronway.
Well, clearly we are. Just trying to find some answers to questions that we have.
So Sagan, he corks up his water skin and sort of, clasps it back to his sort of hip harness, and he stands up and with his mohawk kind of bouncing around and his sort of bone earrings clacketing around, he saunters his way over to you all, and he says, "Come on, there's gotta be more to that. You don't know. No one just visits Aaronway. I mean, aren't you all from Taldor? Who let you in?"
None of us are actually really from Taldor, but our business is our own, and
Your business is your own? Okay, well, Yeah, we'll see what Valinar has to say about that. I doubt that he'd be okay with you all being here. I mean, maybe you, and he points to the fairy in your group, Oliander. But certainly not. What do you? This is gonna be good. This is gonna be really good. Gokum, go get some corn nuts. Go get some corn nuts, and let's heat them up and get ready. And he turns around and he's so excited about the prospect of you all being here.
All right,
Salient.
Oh, God.
Salient, if you must know.
Oh, I mustn't.
We're here because...
No, don't worry about it. Just do your thing. We'll watch.
Well, we're actually here for you in a way.
For me?
Yes.
What
you see, Gokum delivered us a secret message when we last encountered you, and it said, "I'm in love with Desba. I hate Salian and can't stand him anymore." Okay, that's it. We had to deliver that message. It seemed important. I don't want to speak further for Gokum, who said a lot of mean things about you secretly to me, and we're just gonna sail on out of here, right, Salian?
So when you even before you finish your sentence, all three of them burst into raucous laughter, just like somebody told the greatest joke they've ever heard. All of them.
Yeah, that's right. I'll be here all week on account of Myrna Romstat saying I can. Yeah.
Oh, you said it was Myrna who let you in? Okay. Good move, Myrna. Good move.
Yeah.
We'll see how that plays out for her.
Yeah. That's great. What are you all doing here, huh?
Oh, we live here, so that's what we're doing here. But I guess now we're just gonna enjoy the view. See what happens.
All right. Well, if you would like a good view, Eulogy will do a spin of a twirl, and he'll say, "There you go. Now you got your view."
Okay. They all see. They sort of settle in. Just right there outside of the lodge building, and seem to be just waiting to see what transpires. And so maybe to give a little bit more description for you guys to react to, there are a number of kind of smaller huts, sort of interspersed, not just near this massive tree. Which this massive tree, by the way, quite reminds you of the one that you saw further south in the Verdurn Forest, underneath which you all had found the heart of the blight, or I think so you referred to it, and so Shibello, right, without even needing a nature check, Shibello, you would recognize that these two trees seem to be of the same species, and this one here, perhaps even older and larger than the one that you all had seen before. And all about, right, that I mentioned, that procession of individuals. They, several sort of start piling up the baskets outside of the lodge building, but several others sort of meander off to various huts, or even further off into the sort of rolling hilly woodlands. And anyone listening closely enough, you would hear sort of the sound of pipes, what sounds like pipes being played off in the distance, and yeah, I'm trying to think of what else. Maybe at that moment, there is a flash of lightning and thunder that seems to come not out of nowhere, but instead of falling down from the sky to come down to the earth, this streak of lightning seems to erupt upward from somewhere off in the distance. You can't quite see, but you sort of see the flash of light, even in this sort of bright of day, off in the distance, and the lightning seems to be shooting upward toward the sky. So, yes, with all that
magic lightning.
With all that, you all stand before this large wooden structure. The opening of the structure is obvious enough. There is no door. But you, aside from Salion and his friends, Gokum and Desba, you all find no greeting party. There's really it's just the folk seeming to be going about their business. Is there anything that you all would like to do specifically or to seek out?
So seek out Keto Wan.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should seek out Valinar the Green.
Well, she kind of said that he probably wouldn't help us.
I know.
But it seemed like she said he would help us and then changed her mind. Like,
yeah, that makes me think her information is quite valuable, or his Valinar, whatever. If she's trying to hide him from us, we need to find him.
Well, maybe we could.
Be worth finding.
Yeah, maybe we start with Keto, and then depending on what we learn there, then go to Valinar.
It should be a lot
But
easier
what if
to
we find Valinar first?
a guy with a cute dog that's following him around. We got a lot more information about Keto.
That's true. We should get a dog. Why don't we have any pets in this group?
well, should we ask the
I count sometimes.
hooligans?
No, I don't want any. I don't want help from them.
Well, not anything specific, but maybe we could just ask them generally about Valinar and Keto and just kind of see if they reveal anything more.
They are annoying, but they know some things.
Oh, what do you need to know about Valinar?
Where he is, what he looks like.
If he actually has the information we seek, if he actually wouldn't be willing to help us.
I guess, yeah. Oliander, do you know anything about who Keto Wan and Valinar the Green is?
I don't know Keto, but I know of Valinar. He's the most powerful druid in the lodge. He is, always wearing a cloak covered in ivy sprouts. He is very sort of isolationist in his beliefs. And he kind of only, his sort of circle of friends are, literally, the most, ancient and powerful citizens of the forest. So, I don't know where he is specifically, but, kind of a big circle to push your way into.
So maybe the advice was actually good then, that he wouldn't be willing to talk to us.
If we're going to save the blighted forest, I think a druid wearing a cloak and ivy sprouts and who cares all about the forest might be slightly enticed to give us a little help, especially if we have our dear friend Oleander here to talk to him for us.
Maybe, but also just a heads up: if we ever do actually talk to him face to face, you kind of want to, suck up to him a little bit, right? He's very old school and kind of, he really, back in the day when druids were, super respected and powerful, he kind of, idealizes that era, so just keep that in mind if we ever do come face to face with him, kind of kiss his ass just a little bit.
Well, I also think for now I'm just going to put this amulet away, and I'm going to take my emblem of Knighthood of Talador and put it in my bag.
All right.
I'll do the same. And Eulogy will follow Virgil's suit.
Yeah, if Shibello's was out, he'd put it away.
All right. And I think Ulfgar is the only other one who might have one of these emblems of knighthood. So we'll assume he.
Ulfgar also does that.
Yeah, we'll
I'm sure he would put it
I heard
away.
him talk about it.
Yes, he does. He puts it.
Okay. All right. So you all make sort of set aside your emblems of the Empire. Probably a good choice. And then so yeah, what have you all decided on what you want to do next?
Shibello's gonna seek out Kido Wan.
How?
That's what he's gonna do. Look for this person that she described. Where did she say he was? She said he was hung out somewhere. Where did she say he hangs out?
I don't remember.
Near the.
I only remember that he has a dog.
Tree.
Dark hair, cute dog, a Tian human.
Hangs
And then you
out
said near where?
Tree.
Alright, so yeah, he'll kind of, I guess, wander around or through the tree. However he would go about the tree.
So you're going to enter the lodge?
If that's, I guess, what it means by the tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Shibello's choosing to enter the lodge building. Is anyone else accompanying him in doing so?
Sagan.
I'll go with him.
Okay.
Eulogy will.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody just follows along, right?
All right. So you Shibello, you walk toward the threshold of the building, and you sort of pass through. But I think Eulogy was the second one, or no, Sagan was the second one coming behind you, and he is sort of strolling behind you as well. But it's like he runs into a glass window when he hits the threshold, and it's just like boom, and he sort of stumbles backward into Eulogy just behind him.
Seeing that, Ulfgar will stop following.
Eulogy will steady Sagan, and then he will reach out and try to touch the thing that Sagan walked into, see if he feels it.
Yeah, so Eulogy, you reach your arm out, and you feel as though you even gently so, you feel this invisible energy sort of meet the palm of your hand as you reach out to the threshold, and if you were to press on it, you would feel that it does not yield to your pushing.
I'll
I gotta
turn around and
say-
say, maybe only druids can enter. Oliander, you should see if maybe fey creatures also can enter?
I hope so. Oleander will walk up and kind of cautiously to move through the barrier.
Yeah, so Oliander, he tries to step forward, and he meets the same invisible barrier that all but Shibello have met.
Well, that's just racist.
Shibello will say, I guess it's a good thing I am a
Really
creature of the world.
Really
Yep,
quick,
The
really
green
quick,
fish
Shibello,
rules or
give me-
something, huh?
Yeah, just really quick, Shibello. Give me like a brief phrase I can say in Druidic.
Well, Shibello, I'll make sure we don't, do anything bad out here. I guess maybe you go in and see if you can find someone.
I guess so.
All
Send
right.
the dog out here, please.
Yes.
When you guys could wander around the tree to see if you The guy with the dog?
I guess so.
I guess so.
Alright, if you need anything, all you gotta do is rely on yourself, okay?
Thank you.
Just 'cause, I mean, I'd help, but I can't get it. I mean, this little wall, I mean, it's a little kinky, I guess, but I can't go through it. But
Alright, I guess...
alright, I'm gonna go look for the dog. I'm gonna go...
Sagan follows Eulogy to protect him from big animals.
And Shibello will start
She goes
wandering through the lodge.
All right, so Shibello, you continue through the threshold, and when you enter, there are some doors on your left, but before you there is a long kind of hallway that, if you were to follow that hallway, it would lead you to a large, maybe about 50 feet down the hallway. Remember that the walls of this structure are basically all wooden branches and vines and things making up the walls and ceiling and all that. And when you step forward past this threshold of the hallway, it opens up into a bit of a sitting room, a nice area with a few tables with maybe 6 chairs around each one, and sitting on top of each of the tables are bowls of different sort of fruit and vegetables, and intermixed in there you see good berries, and sitting at one of the chairs, because the lodge is mostly it seems empty, right? From you don't hear much as you enter, by way of conversation or speaking, but when you enter this space, there is a sort of dark brown-skinned individual, a human, sitting with his legs sort of kicked up on the table. He is he's got this sort of leafy laurel crown atop his head, and he seems to be wearing these loose-fitting green and white robes that cascade down, and there's these accents of rune-carved plates linked together in these ornamental strands that serve as, I don't know, something like belts that he sort of wears around his person, and he looks up at you as you enter, and he sort of, before his eyes go in your direction, he says, "Anaji, your footsteps are," and then he cuts off mid-sentence, and he looks at you and he says, "You're not Anaji. Who are you?"
That is correct. My name is Shibello Bright Tusks, and who might I have the pleasure of addressing?
So he smiles and he pulls his feet off the table and back onto the floor, and he says, "You and your people with this tusk. Yes, we all know you have tusks. It's plain enough to see. And they're very nice, don't get me wrong, but anyway, I nitpick. I see you are not a Naji, but do you know of him? Are you his kin?"
Yes. Although I've never met him, and that's part of the reason that I'm here. To be able to meet him for the first time. And what was your name again?
Forgive me. My name is Anton Puskar. And I am the master namer of the winds.
Well, pleasure to meet you, Anton. When was the last time you saw Anaji?
Just this morning, I think.
He's here?
Yes, Anaji is here. You did not know this. Perhaps you have been some time without speaking to him. This is all fine. If you linger here, he will return. He will return, and you may speak with him, should he like that. But Anaji likes to speak with most anyone, so I cannot imagine that he will not speak with you. His kinfolk, his kindred.
Yeah. I'm a little curious. He said his name was Anton?
Yes.
Anton, if you said other, how we all like to have the Tusks names. Have you met others like me besides Anaji?
Oh no, but he tells me of his kinfolk, and they are all very keen on their tusks. They see them as symbols of virility or something. I don't know, but
Virility.
I have met two of your kind, no others. Both of you with names highlighting your tusks. It's peculiar, I think.
What was the name of the other Tuscan elephant person you met? Right?
Well, there's the Golden Tusk, my friend Anaji, and there's the Bright Tusk, my new friend Shibello.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
He mentions others of his kin, but he does not name them. I know not why, but he does not name them to me. We don't talk that much, to be honest.
Fair enough. I'm also curious. I was seeking Anaji, so this works out for me. But was curious if you knew where Kian Wan was.
I know not a Keegan one, but I do know a Keto. Perhaps this is the one that you see.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, Keto, he and Nana have gone off to fetch some bananas from the eastern shore.
Okay. So they've left Erinway.
No, the eastern shore of Erinway.
Oh, okay.
And so, Shibello, you find this peculiar because as far as you've seen of the sort of biomes and climate zone of the Verduran Forest here in Taldor, there's, banana trees are not a thing here, right? But that's just a passing thought in your head.
Yeah, I would probably just be like, oh, we're druids. We can make shit grow.
Do you say that out loud, or you just think that?
No, I just think that.
Okay.
It doesn't take me to, I'm not, all surprised or anything by it.
No.
Okay. Well, thank you, Anton. I'll probably be back. And hopefully I can speak with Anaji.
But you would do me the dishonor of not telling me what has brought you here, my brother? We have not met before, and it is not the summer moot just yet, I think. If I see the stars in the night sky true, that is not for a few months yet. What brings you to the island so soon, and out of season?
Well, one was looking for Anaji. So that's accomplished. But also just seeking some answers to some questions there's a pervading blight in the southern Verduran that we wanted to learn more about.
Well, then, if you're here to see a Naji, do not let Anton Puskar hold you up, you know? Okay, well, but before you go, please. And he reaches down and he plucks something from one of the bowls of fruits and veggies, and he says, accept a gift of welcome from your new friend Anton, if you will. And he takes something small in his hand. It's sort of from the distance you can see it's got sort of a greenish color, and he just sort of like tosses it in your direction.
Shibello catch it.
All right, Shibello catches it, and if you sort of open up your palm to see what it is, he right as you do so, he says, enjoy this delicacy from Anton's homeland, a Varisian olive. If you have not made your way that far north, I tell you, beautiful dishes. What's that?
So aren't I from there?
You are from there. Yeah, actually, you are from there.
So then I'm assuming I recognize it?
Yeah, you look at it and you're like, sure enough, this is a Varisian olive. And you were well enough off as a young man, and you've had plenty of these delicious, salty Varisian olives before, yeah.
Shibello will look at it and say, yes, I've definitely had my fair share of these, and they're delicious. I've got some companions, maybe I'll let one of them try it for the first time. I don't know if they've ever tried them.
Shibello, Anton offers you a gift, a friendship and welcome, and you say you'll pass it on to a friend. All right, tell me your friend's name. I will be friends with him.
No, Anton. I mean, no offense. I only say that to say I appreciate the gesture. I've just had the pleasure of enjoying these olives many a time. They're very delicious, and figured it would be opposed to just doing it again, letting someone else experience it for the first time. What better way to spread your culture than to have someone get to experience something new?
I don't understand you elephant folk. Give it to whoever you like. Anton will not hold it too far against you, okay? All right. Now, if you've got nothing further, the Master of the Wind will sit back down and rest his feet.
Very well.
All right. So maybe cut to the outside of the lodge here. The rest of you maybe fan out and start sort of just without going too far, exploring your way around the immediate vicinity, and as you all are doing so, just a couple minutes pass by before everybody roll perception checks. Who is not Shibello?
Ooh. Oh, god damn it.
Okay. Trying to perceive.
I perceived.
Ooh, Oliander with that 2. Woof. Ooh, that's a good one.
Still good.
All right, Ulfgar. Well done. All right, Sagan. Did we get one?
I did. Oh, how do I roll in the foundry?
Oh, does somebody mind sending him some text details on Beyond 20, or what's the thing called? Beyond 20?
Oh, the plugin?
Wait,
The extension?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I rolled it in D&D Beyond, but I guess it didn't.
Oh, I can see it there. Yeah, you got a 21. That's a good roll. All right. So we'll use that for now. That's fine.
Sweet. Thanks, buddy.
All right. So Eulogy And Sagan and Ulfgar, as you all are just sort of, meandering around, and, Salion and Gokum and Desba are just sort of like, they were already not really doing anything, just sort of like, being idle miscreants here. But as you all are sort of, fanning out a little bit to just get a lay of the land, you hear up in the canopy, a little bit to the north, maybe, the sound of voices. Up in the treetops, and it's not very long before you see 3 figures sort of shoot out from the canopy overhead, and they're not like dive bombing. But they are kind of rapidly and in a very controlled manner. 3 humanoids with wings fluttering rapidly, 4 wings each from their backs. They begin to descend from the treetops above, and they seem to be exchanging in a as though they were just walking and talking normally, like you've seen on the streets of Absalom or of High Helm or back at the College of Dimensional Studies, and they just sort of descend, and they're speaking in a language that none of you who see them understand, but they seem to be engaging in a pretty heated exchange. The 3 of them. One of them is a female who wears a sort of silvery hide set of armor, and she holds in her left hand a staff that sort of ends in these stalks of sort of greenish vines, and her wings are this like bright green color with a brilliant shimmering to them as they flutter through the air. The other 2, one of them is a male wearing sort of green and gold leathery sort of garb, and with very close cropped blonde hair, pointy ears, and these sort of brilliant wings of bluish teal and bright green that flutter behind him. He has a blade at his side, and the third with sort of white hair, a messy shock of white hair, wearing kind of a bluish leather garb with a rather ornate looking kind of mantle about his shoulders, and these sort of like bright pink looking, almost butterfly-esque wings that beat behind him. And the 3 of them descend down toward the entrance to the lodge, and that is about when Oliander and the others who hadn't initially seen them all kind of recognize that there are these individuals arriving here.
Bruce.
Yes.
Oleander's eyes go wide. He kind of like rubs his eyes to make sure he's not seeing ghosts. Is this who he believes to be Augustus? Is that?
Yes. Yes, you recognize them immediately.
Oleander just starts crying. It's like tears, just like happy tears, sad tears, all just like super emotional breakdown. It's running back.
Did you say you start running toward Bast?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the three of them sort of, they touch down just outside the lodge entrance, and for those who had been sort of watching them descend, yeah, you recognize actually as they get closer and closer that they're pretty diminutive individuals, much like your friend Oliander, all three of them, and they settle on the ground there, and they continue to speak until Oliander comes sort of shooting back around the side of wherever he was, just off to the side, and yeah, Oleander, what do you do? They sort of you catch their attention even as you're running up.
Yeah, because normally Oleander's wings are still kind of naturally just tucked behind his back, but he sort of like spreads them out as he's running towards them, and he's just gonna run up straight to Bast and just kind of like leap and just like embrace him, just like try to give him like the biggest hug in the world, and he is just crying. He's just like ranting. He's like, I thought I was the only one left. I thought everyone else was dead. I was scared. I didn't know what to do.
Okay. So as you run up and sort of embrace Bast, he's just a little bit taller than you, and so he like lifts up his arms as it almost seems like he's recoiling just slightly away from you, but certainly not enough to escape your lunging embrace, and his blue and green eye or blue and yellow eyes sort of blink a couple times, and he looks down at you, and for anybody watching, right, Oleander sort of buries his face in this fairy's chest, but anyone watching on would see that this guy, he sort of looks over at the two other fairies there, and then sort of very quickly he sort of like takes stock of what's going on around him, and then he like almost like confusedly returns the embrace and starts patting Oleander on the back of his neck, and he says there, son.
Kind of like wiping his tears out of his eyes. I know it's been so long. I'm sure you don't recognize me. My name is Oliander Nyx. I was just a boy in Bass Grove when they attacked. They took me to Casimir. I've been gone for so long. I didn't know if anybody else was still alive.
Oliander Nyx? And
yes.
Oleander? You were this tall, and he, for anybody looking on that's not a fairy, it would almost be like comical, the fact that he says this. He like gestures like like you're just up to my waist. You were so small, and when we last saw each other, we thought you were we things. And he turns without sort of like finishing the thought. He turns in the direction of the female fairy there with her staff in her left hand, and he says, "Don't you see, Rebecca? Even still, our people are broken and haven't yet found their loved ones. This boy." And he turns back to you and he says, "Oleander, Nyx." Almost with like the almost indistinguishable or indiscernible like question mark. Oleander, Nyx. His family were among the many who suffered at the hands of those beasts. And you tell me that we can't stand up to them? Rebecca, be reasonable. And then he turns back to you and he sort of like embraces you again very closely, and the other male fairy with the sort of blonde hair, very very short cut, he looks on and he says very calmly, he says, Rebecca, surely Bast, excited as he may be, makes a good point about what, just how deep the wounds are. We know that there are fine lines to tread. We've talked it over many times, and we won't berate you, friend, but tell this young man's story to your Wildwood Lodge. Tell them of the suffering held in captivity for 10 years by those fine Taldan folk who are certainly upholding their end of the deal. No treaties have been broken. At least not verifiably so yet, as you say. But soon enough, Rebecca, the evidence will mount, and you will need to make a choice. Stand by those Taldans and watch. Watch as they steal away the forest right from under our feet. Or stop them. Do something about it. And Rebecca, the female, fairy with her long brown hair and fairly stoic demeanor through this whole encounter, she says, I wish you well, Oliander Nyx. The struggles that must have befallen you do not escape me, as Bast and Augustus might make it seem. But there are very real hazards, very real lives to be lost if the boat is rocked. Bast, because we are friends, that's the only reason you haven't been handed over. Whatever, Rebecca, whatever. And he says, I've had enough of you for now. And he sort of takes Oleander. He throws his arm over Oleander's shoulders and starts to sort of stomp off.
Before he gets too far, Oleander's gonna look up at Rebecca and say, I've heard of you, Miss Roselight. You say there are consequences to rocking the boat. But what about the boat already being rocked? My family gone, stolen from me, 10 years of my life stolen from me. And you don't think the boat's been rocked? That makes me sick.
And she can't help but look down and away from you as you peer over Bast's shoulder, and she just kind of gently shakes her head from side to side before turning to the blonde fairy Augustus, and she says, if you still want to share a drink later, you're both welcome to come back. But clearly we've exhausted this topic. And they sort of nod at each other, and she turns and enters the lodge building just as Shibello is walking out, and they sort of cross paths, and she looks up from her very short, I think she's like 3 feet tall, and Shibello is 7'3" or something like that, and so she looks up at the towering frame of Shibello, and she says, Who are you?
Oh, Shibello Bright Tusks.
Oh, okay, well, I'm sure you'll find a Naji somewhere, and she just sort of walks on by you.
Shibello will continue heading towards his friends that I'm assuming he can see.
Yep. So
how messed up of her to just assume he'd want to see Naji, like, without any background. That's pretty messed up.
Greedy.
All right.
You know how these fairy folk are.
So there you all are. Like I said, Bast sort of throws his arm around Oleander's shoulder and starts to lead him away from the entrance there, and Shibello comes trailing just a moment behind, as does Augustus, the other male fairy, and they sort of step off away from the entrance before coming to a halt. Any of the other companions, you all are sort of interspersed just around the area. So if you'd like, you can kind of gather up with them. But
Eulogy gathers.
Okay.
I gather.
Yeah, I mean, I assume we heard all the exchange, right? That he just had with these people that were showing up.
Yeah, there was no. They weren't sort of hiding it. In fact, you all would have noticed, because I mentioned that they were speaking to each other in a language that you didn't understand as they were coming down, and there was sort of, as they landed, and you would have seen Bast kind of, clock a few of you there, and quickly transition into speaking in common. At that point.
Okay, so the actual exchange that he had about pushing back all the stuff, that was in a language I didn't understand, so I didn't actually hear the conversation, just saw sort of the body language, is what you're saying.
No. He switched to common before that whole exchange unfolded.
Oh, okay. So they were talking a different language prior to that. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
So you all gather together, and it makes for a little bit of a crowd with how many of you are gathered around, and so the pair of individuals that you had not yet been acquainted with, the blonde fairy and the white-haired one, right? They regard you all, and Bast doesn't even wait for introductions or anything. He almost kind of like grabs or tries to position Oleander in an obviously visible sort of position amidst the gathering group, and he starts to speak almost theatrically to Oleander, and he says, "Young Oleander, my heart is full to know that you are here and safe with us again. Your family was at Bass Grove?"
Yes.
"And we have missed you every day that you have been parted from us. Oleander, your wings shine as bright as your soul must too. Behold, people, we will not rest until we see these wrongs righted." And then he sort of like he'd sort of like shot up his left hand into the air in a very like oratory manner, and then he it's almost like he's run out of things to like prepared canned speech things to say, and he turns back towards Oleander and to the rest of the crowd around him, and he says but be sure that Bast and his band will not back down. And then he turns back to Oleander and he says, what do you say we go find a spot and catch up, young man?
I would like that a lot. I have so many questions.
Yes, well, hopefully we have the answers you've been seeking, but I'll tell you now, the news is not all good. As you see from Rebecca.
I don't understand. The Taldans, they came to our land. They crossed the border. They weren't supposed to go. And the Wildwood Lodge sees no problem? How can that be?
Well, the Wildwood Lodge is beholden to their Taldan masters, their Andoran masters, those lumbermen. You remember surely before you were taken, the way they brutally raided and slaughtered our people, and you said you've been in captivity. If I could give you those years back, Oleander, I would take them from my own life and give them to you.
Perhaps, I hate to say this, but perhaps it was a good thing. I know that sounds strange, but they kept me around as their pet. I was paraded around Casimir. I have, though, overheard much conversation between the Taldan nobility, and I've come to learn their messy web and game they play. Perhaps I could be of use to you now. I know before I was told over and over again I was too young to get involved, but I'm older. I have skills that I didn't have before. I have information. I have ideas. We can make a difference. Wildwood Lodge or not, there are others who will help. You know the Blackwood Moot would help. You know there are people in the woods who share our vision.
I like you, Oleander. Oleander
Yeah.
of House Nyx.
I have waited a long time. 10 years I've been planning my revenge on those animals.
And we'll get it for you. We'll get it for you. Just you wait. But don't wait too long.
Oh man, I am excited. I have some powerful friends. They saved me from captivity and keep it on the down low, but one of them is even a lord of Taldor. Isn't that great?
What?
Oh, don't worry. He's a good man, and he is on our side. He believes that the Duke and the Lumber Consortium, they're all broken their word. He is on our side. I believe it is the edge that we need to really infiltrate their ranks.
And then as though like stopping to realize for the first moment like who all is actually around him, he like scans the group and he says, "Wait, are these your friends?"
Yes.
Oh. Huh. You get on well with tall folk?
I was in captivity in the heart of the enemy's land. There's only tall folk out there.
Yeah. Well,
But don't worry, these ones are different. They helped me.
what, yeah, I'll take your word for it. Tall folk or not. If you'd like to see the downfall of the Taldan military-industrial complex, then you are a friend of Bast.
I kind of gesture up to Shibello. I'm like, look, looks just like a Naji, right? It's exciting.
Who's Anaji?
You've met a Naji. Everybody's met a Naji. Big tall elephant man. Looks just like that.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I know Anaji. Yep. I've definitely met him, and he looks over at the blonde, more sort of like put together, and finely sort of dressed fairy, and the other fairy like gets this like he rolls his eyes and he nods his head, And Bass turns back to you and says, "Yep, I've met Anaji. Mm-hmm."
All right, I'm excited. Like I said, I know that we can get justice for the Grove and for all the people we lost, and just everything. I know we can do it.
I know we can as well. Are you
Right.
are you going to be on the Isle for long?
We actually came to investigate a blight in the southern parts of the forest. We were hoping somebody here would be able to give us some information. It's kind of complicated, involves ley lines and corruption and things like that. We'll try to figure out. Have you seen Valinor anywhere?
Valinor. Valinor. Yeah, that stodgy old kook is probably holed up in the lodge there.
Yeah, we tried to get in, but obviously, we couldn't get in. Well, our friend could, Shibello. He could get in, but I don't know if he's met anybody yet.
So Bass looks over at Shibello and he goes, "Oh, so you're one of the druids?"
Shibello said that I am.
I thought you might be a wizard with all those shinies on you.
Nope. Just man from the stars.
You're from the stars?
From of all in one.
Okay, sure. That's fine. Yep. So if you all are still around, Oliander, we have and a few more of our folk. We have a camp not too far to the north of here. There's a hut. You can pick it out by the wreath in the shape of the Desnan butterfly that adorns the hut's threshold.
All right, sounds good. I'll definitely try to meet up with you guys later and talk things over.
Very good. Don't tarry. We have a lot to tell you. And
All right.
roll a perception check. Anyone with proficiency in insight may also roll a perception check.
Should it be perception, or I guess mine is the same. But
So only if we have it in insight, not if we have it in perception.
If you have proficiency in insight, you may roll, I guess either insight or perception. Otherwise, it's just Oleander.
Wait, but it's a perception roll no matter what?
Yeah, it's a perception check. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Oleander, you notice that before he turns to leave, Bast kind of, his eyes wander down to your waist, and you catch him sort of noticing what you have at your waist, and he just for the briefest moment he kind of goes a little bit wide-eyed. His eyebrows shoot up a little bit, and then he recomposes himself and turns to walk away with Augustus. And they walk only a short distance before you see their wings behind them start to sort of flutter and then full tilt begin to fly up off of the ground and depart. So I think your full group there is gathered out front of the Wildwood Lodge. What would you guys like to do?
So Shibello, I guess you went inside the lodge there. Did you meet anybody?
Yeah, so I met a Master of the Winds, Anton, who told me that Anaji is here. Said if I waited around, he'd be back soon. So that's kind of one of the main things I'd come here searching for, so that worked out.
Did he happen to say how long ago Anaji was here?
I mean, he was just recently here. And that he would be back probably soon.
I was just going to note that Anaji moves around a lot, so if he was just here, I just would worry that maybe he's on his way somewhere far.
I mean, based on what Anton said, he pretty much said if I waited around in the lodge, that he would be back. All
right.
That's all I can think to do. He did, however, give me one of these very delicious Virgil olives. I've had many in my time, but they're pretty good. So I didn't know if any of you guys had ever had one or not had one, but figured I'd let one of you guys get to try it if you've never had one, because they're actually very tasty.
I haven't had one. Have any of you guys had a Parisian olive?
Shockingly, I have not partaken in this particular delicacy.
I've had an occasional rare one, so I'll sit this out.
Whichever of you wants it, it doesn't matter to me. You can decide.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we should. Well, the only fair way to do this is to chop it 3 ways and share it between Oliander, me, and Sagan.
I say we each just get a bite.
Why am I getting left out of this?
Well, you didn't express an interest, did you?
I just said I'll take it.
Oh, my apologies.
Fine, nobody said you can't have it.
Up there. Fine, we'll chop it 4 ways.
I don't carry a knife with me, so one of you guys have to do the chopping.
No problem. Ulfgar has a knife. He will take it out and he will chop the olive into quarters.
Guys, the suspense is killing me. One of you eat the damn olive.
Ulfgar puts his quarter in his mouth. Describe the taste to me, please.
It's salty, but to your taste, Ulfgar, not really that salty, I mean, it's fine.
Ulfgar sort of,
Just fine.
sort of, as he tastes the olive, he'll look at his buddy Shibello and say to him, compared to the bland Taldan food I've been having for so long, this is absolutely delicious. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sagan takes his bite and comments that this is nothing compared to the delicacies he experienced at the College of Dimensional Studies.
Ulfgar, feeling like his culture is being attacked, will sit there and say, well, dwarves have great food too. We have great food in High Elm. This olive pales in comparison to the mighty feasts of High Elm.
I would like to try that. That sounds
I mean,
delightful.
calm down. It's just a garnish. You would clearly eat this for other things, right?
Yeah,
There's no element of a meal is insignificant. Garnishes are important as well. They add to the depths of flavor.
I think it tastes great.
All right, so it's actually around this time that a few minutes pass as you guys are sort of enjoying the olive and discussing your different sort of culinary tastes and experiences, that you might hear the sound of a calm down, Nana. Here, I'll break you off a piece, right? And you anybody who would look up, you'd see sort of walking, sort of in a totally carefree manner down one of the nearby kind of hills, wooded hills, maybe just 50 yards away from where you all are, if even, probably closer. You see a human individual wearing these sort of, he's got kind of a well-constructed leather tunic that is half covered by a flowing green silk half robe, and he's got sort of a short cropped black hair, thin small frame as a person, a human with almond shaped eyes, sort of strolling down the hill with a yapping sort of canine feverishly nipping at his heels as he peels back a banana.
Sagan yells, "Oi there, is your name Keto?"
Well, he looks up at the hail and he says, yeah, hi.
Hi, my friends have some questions for you.
Oh, well, let me come closer then. And he starts to sort of walk his way over to you all, still with his little canine companion trailing after, and it doesn't take him long to get there, but he strolls up and he with his shoulders relaxed and just sort of peeling a banana, he looks at you all and he says, well, you all are new in town, clearly. So what questions can I help with?
Well, first, what's your dog's name?
Well,
oh, sorry.
So at the mention of dog, the canine sort of like looks at Eulogy and goes, and Keto, who I assume is Keto the man, he turns and he says, oh, calm down, Nana. He doesn't know any better. She's not a dog. She's a wonderful and powerful. And he like looks up at you and then looks back down at Nana and he says, powerful elemental spirit, aren't you, Nana? Aren't you? And Nana sort of like sort of happily, yep. And he says, that's right. And he takes a chunk off of the tip of the banana that he unpeeled, and he sort of tosses it down, and Nana catches it in her mouth.
Eulogy will bow with clasped hands and will say, oh, forgive me, please, you are indeed quite a powerful force. Nana?
Nana, yeah. she's wonderful. And then Kito actually he like clasps his hands in front of himself and does sort of like a 30-degree bow in your direction. He says, I don't meet many people who are familiar with the customs of the East. It's good to meet new faces. And then he turns to Sagan and he says, You called me over? You have questions? Well, first, my name's Kito. But I guess you maybe knew that already. Who are you all?
My name is Sagan, and my friend over here, Sagan points at Oleander. Oleander has some questions for you about this blight that we found in the woods.
Oleander, it is an honor to meet you.
Oh, thank you so much. So yeah, basically about this blight, I just wanted to point out my friend Shibello here. Great guy. He actually has a lot of questions for you about this blight. Take it away, Shibello.
Okay, and he reorients himself to Shibello.
Shibello says, Myrna...
Ramstead.
Ramstead mentioned you as someone that was knowledgeable here in the Wildwood Lodge.
Oh, that was very kind of Myrna to say. She is a good friend. I hope I can help in whatever way you need. Have you eaten?
No. We have not.
An olive.
Yeah, they had some olive.
Oh, just
1/4 of an olive.
Just an olive. Well, here and he just, without reaching anywhere, he speaks some words, and as he does so, he sort of like turns his left hand over, and his sort of closed fist, he opens it once he's got it palm face up, and in his hand are a bunch of berries that maybe several of you have tried many times before. And he says, here.
Shibello will say, "Oh, I'm okay. I have my own stock," and he'll kind of like pull out his like bag of berries that he keeps, and they'll just say, and then he'll say in Druid, he's like, "I'm a brother of the earth, or Druidic."
And so Kito just like looks down at his open offering, and he says, "Well, anyone else?"
I won't turn down free food. I could use one too. It looks great.
Yes, eat.
Sagan would like to check to see if these are poisonous berries before taking a bite.
Okay, how do you go about checking? Just you want to just inspect them to see if you recognize them as poisonous?
I think I would like to investigate them.
Okay, give a nature check.
Oh, I can do that. Okay.
In the meantime, Ulfgar will go ahead and eat the berries that have a not zero chance of being poisonous.
Eulogy will be very slow and mindful in the eating of his good berry, where he smells it one nostril at a time, pinches it a little bit, and it takes far too long to consume it.
Okay, so Sagan, you inspect this berry, and you've studied a good bit, but flora and the many species of flora and botany were never your strong suits in your studies. You didn't dedicate much time to it, and you're sort of like scrutinizing this berry, and one way or the other, you have no idea whether it's the greatest thing since sliced bread or a poisonous berry that will kill you instantly.
Okay. Sagan only eats the kinds of berries that he sees Oleander eating.
Okay. So, I think Oleander, did you take a berry yourself?
I did, yes.
Okay. All right. So, so anyone who partakes of this berry, and has maybe had a similar berry before, you find that you are actually surprised by the taste of these berries. They have a much more kind of oddly floral taste to them than what your friend than what you've had before, and they taste good. They taste great, and you feel nourished and full. And once everybody's sort of had some, Keto takes one for himself, pops it in his mouth, and just tosses the remaining berries that weren't taken over his shoulder onto the ground. And he says, "Well, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Shibello. How can I be of service?"
Well, my main question was actually if anyone knew where Anaji Goldtusk was, but I spoke to Anton earlier, and he mentioned that he was here.
Yes.
Have you seen him?
Yes, and Anaji has been staying here recently, and if he's not here at the lodge, then I'm sure he's somewhere else on the island.
Anton mentioned he should probably be back to the lodge soon at some point if I waited.
Certainly. He comes back to sleep and partake in discussions with everyone else. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
Would he come through this direction? Is there another way into the lodge, or would he come through this way?
No, this is the way in. Although, now that I think about it, I think I remember him saying that he was going to go to the altar on the south ridge of the island.
So most likely he's there now.
He might be.
All right, well, that was kind of my main thing, and I think if we have any other questions maybe that Naji can't answer, we'll seek you back out, Keto. Thanks for your time. And he'll kind of quickly start walking to the south altar.
Okay, so
or where he presumes the south altar is.
Before you go, or as you turn away, Keto says, "Will you do one thing for me in return?"
He'll kind of look back, sure.
Never mind. Never mind. We'll speak again, I'm sure. And he gives sort of another 30-degree bow and turns sort of half away from you all as the group starts to walk off in the other direction. And in particular, Eulogy, when you walk by Keto and Nana, Nana kind of starts to she almost zeroes in on Eulogy and starts to growl.
Interesting.
But only in a sort of a passing way, right? As you walk by, you only sort of notice it as you pass by the two of them, and so on you may go. She's certainly not.
All right, as he passes the creature, the dog, not dog, Eulogy will say, he'll just wave his finger as she growls, and he'll go, na 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 na.
All right.
Wait, Sagan asked Eulogy, why is that dog growling at you?
Oh, yes, Sagan.
Why is that dog growling at you?
Well, truth be told, I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to think why it wouldn't like me. I mean, I don't know that it understands what I'm saying, and that's usually the thing that makes people not like me. So I'm kind of at a loss.
Okay. I have to ask just a general gameplay question.
Mm-hmm.
Can a wizard just cast spells all willy-nilly? Does it go into combat immediately if a wizard casts the spells? How does this work exactly?
No, you can cast spells outside of combat. So if there's a spell or something that you want to try to do,
yes,
at any moment you can do it.
I would like to detect thoughts on Nana.
Ooh, interesting.
Ooh, I like that.
Okay. Detecting thoughts on Nana. All right. Go ahead and so I think with detect thoughts, so when you initially cast it, you're able to sense sort of surface thoughts of any creature or individual that you direct your attention to. But then in order to, you'll get sort of surface thoughts, but then you would need to potentially, if you wanted to get any deeper than that, you'd have to sort of focus more and kind of push toward a particular creature's thoughts.
Okay.
So, but since you mentioned that you're sort of casting this and paying attention to Nana,
Does Eulogy notice Sagan cast the spell?
So Sagan would have to do sort of verbal and sort of somatic components with his casting. So I'm not sure if Sagan's trying to hide what he's doing, but
Sagan just goes for it.
Sagan just goes for it. So yeah, Eulogy. You guys were just exchanging words, so you're basically right there next to Sagan. So yeah, we can say that you noticed this.
All right. Well, so Eulogy will turn his attention. He'll stop walking, turn his attention back to Nana, and he'll look at Nana and say, "Do you want food or something? Would that make you like me more? What seems to be the concern, Nana?"
Okay. So Sagan, as you sort of sense surface thoughts, you get the following kind of roiling thoughts, which is stinky, bad smell, yuck, stinky, dark, stinky.
God damn.
I'll probe deeper.
Okay. So what's your save DC? It's a 14?
Yeah.
Okay, so wisdom saving throw for Nana. Let's see how she does. All right, so you try to dig further down into Nana's thoughts, and you're sort of sense of what she's thinking goes stinky, yuck, stop, and then your spell ends. And you see Nana's head kind of like turn in your direction.
Eulogy offers a ration to Nana. You want this? It's really old, but probably good. It was good when I ate it.
And Keto kind of interjects, and he sort of kind of steps half between you and Nana, and he says, "Oh, Nana has had a banana already. She doesn't need anything. Thank you."
Oh, sure. I guess I would. Maybe I'm just not that good with elemental grand spirits. Do you know why she seems to dislike me?
She can be temperamental, but I'm sure she doesn't mean you anything.
Huh, well, I'll win you over yet, Nana. Thank you, and see you all later. And Eulogy is going to try to keep an eye out for bananas to stock up on for their next interaction.
Okay. All right. So you all sort of, walk away from Keto and Nana, and if anyone were paying attention to the trio of miscreants standing outside of the lodge, you might see them kind of like, that you all disengage from your interaction with Keto, and there's like a momentary like, oh man, oh, like, and then you see you'd see Gokum kind of turning to Desba and like, throwing his head back in like a feigned sense of frustration as he like flicks her a tiny silver coin, and Desba catches it, and she like fist pumps in a revelry of success or victory. Not clear what that's all about, but you all meander away. Now you had you saw the southern the southern mount, right? The altar and standing stones from the shore when you were first approaching. Although they're maybe their appearance was different, perhaps, from the outside than what you might see on the inside. But point being, generally which direction to travel to sort of seek out the southern standing stones, and begin to make your way there. On your way there, is there anything that you guys would like to discuss amongst yourselves?
Eulogy will ask you. Eulogy will ask you.
I was like just hyper focused on walking, so he's not like at all intent on talking to anybody.
Okay.
Eulogy will ask Sagan. So Sagan, what was that little bit of fanciness you threw out back there?
I decided to detect that dog's thoughts and see what was on its mind and why it didn't like you.
I'm curious. Did you unravel this entirely impossible state of disliking me?
I did. That dog thinks you stink.
Oh. Eulogy will sniff himself to see how he smells, and then he will sniff Sagan to compare.
Sagan takes 2 steps back.
That bad, huh?
Yeah, Eulogy, you don't necessarily feel like you smell particularly bad.
Well, all right. I guess I don't know. I'll take a bath tonight.
Sagan asks when the last time this party has taken a bath is.
Oh,
It's been a minute.
does anyone remember?
No.
It's happened though, right? We've done it.
Not as a group?
Not as a
Well, I mean,
group.
we haven't done that yet.
Oh man. All right.
Well, Virgil kind of wants to kind of quietly mention to, like, Eulogy, Sagan, Ulfgar. Am I forgetting anybody? No. And kind of be like, does it seem to me like that guy Oliander was excited to meet seemed more excited about Oleander's story than Oliander?
Yes. There was something odd about the whole thing. Like, I couldn't tell if he was, like, just kind of shallow or dumb or using him or... I don't know.
I don't know if I completely trust that guy, but I guess I hope he can give Oleander some closure about whatever might have happened to his family. Maybe he can shed some light on that, but he definitely seems a little off.
Agreed.
I agree.
Oh,
He certainly has the disposition of a politician, but I guess to that end, I mean, we can take his words with a grain of salt, but you know, if his interests do align with our own, you know, it doesn't hurt to use him for those reasons.
Suppose you're right.
Fair.
It just definitely gave me an uncomfortable feeling.
And, Oliander, it also seemed as though you knew of a number of different possible allies to achieve an endeavor that I wholly respect, given the deep injustice that you have described against you and your people. If things don't really work out here, or even if they do, would you know how to seek them out?
Yeah. I mean, there are plenty of groups. I mean, the Wildwood Lodge isn't the only druidic circle in the forest. There are others with, you know, equally powerful allies who are less keen on Haldor's encroaching in the forest. So, like I said, I don't know a lot of them personally. My home was closest to the Wildwood Lodge, but I know where to go to meet up with them, and we can see what their plans are for, you know, fighting the Taldans.
I like it. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Have you ever talked to a tree before?
Oh, I mean, I didn't think it was a tree at the time. I was on drug.
Hey, Virgil. Are you there? Hello? David? No? Okay.
Well, the next time we get a little R&R and poppy seed, we'll let's try it out.
I'm down.
All right, I knew you liked to party, you little fairy.
We got to use every part of the tree.
Well, I
Okay.
look forward to talking with some trees.
Okay, I'm gonna pull Virgil into the whisper real quick.
Bye, Virgil.
You moved me to the whisper, then it like told me I was disconnected, and like
Oh, that's
I
weird.
couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, so
Oh,
don't look at things. But you, as you guys are walking along, you get this ping in your head, and you hear the following: Hello, Lord Virgil. Ramayo Alcasti here. Heard you went off to Verduran Forest. Had a favor to ask. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is that your full reply?
Yeah.
Okay. So it like there's a good like moment before you get anything else, but then the next words are, my esteemed ancestor Honoria Alcasti. No records of her victories. Not in Opara, at least. Wildwood Lodge Druids. And then there's like a long pause. Wildwood Lodge Druids tell of a blackwood tree that remembers that time. I'm not sure, but can't let her memory vanish. Can you check on this for me?
Who is this?
Is that your reply?
Yeah. Who is from Mario Casti? I don't know you. Do I know you?
So there's a moment that Lord Virgil, we met in Casimir. We shared drinks and discussed intentions to help each other. In Casimir, when you were bequeathed your lordship. Do you remember?
Okay, pause. I don't remember this.
Okay, you don't remember it.
No, I'm so sorry. I don't remember who you are.
So a long bit passes, and he goes, you finally get a, well, that's a shame. These messages cost me a lot of money.
Who was this guy?
But I hope you will recognize me when we meet next. I will travel to Sant Etraine. Can you ask druids, please?
About the black tree? I will ask the druids about the black tree.
There's a long pause. Thank you, my lord. All the best to you on your journey. Please consider paying me back for some of the cost of this spells. But if not, okay.
Wait, who is this guy?
You'll find out later, I guess.
Did I actually meet
You've
this
met
person?
this person, yeah. Alright, let's
Did
jump
we
back.
talk to each other around the tables when we were playing cards?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Are you remembering slightly?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Whisper conversation.
David
Yeah.
Whisperin. David Whisperin.
Whisper, whisper,
It's never
whisper.
good.
Whisper, whisper.
It's just pleasure at this point. What?
Awkward.
Clear. Oh my
No, got
Okay.
me.
Alright. So you guys are meandering down the road, or not the road. There's no road really, but in the general direction of the standing stones on the hill that you remember seeing, yeah. So anything else that you guys maybe you guys were chatting a little bit while we were in Whisper, but if there's anything else that you guys want to talk about before we continue.
Oh.
No from Shibello.
Do you guys remember Rimmer Arcasti? What was the name, Bruce?
Ramayo.
Do you guys remember Ramayo Arcasti?
I don't know what a casty is.
I just got an arcane message sent to me from this person, and I have no idea I can't remember who they are, but they were asking for my help, and like,
Yeah, so
said that we spoke in Casimir.
So what you guys would have seen was, as you guys were walking along, Virgil, once your previous conversation died down, Virgil just kind of started going like, "Who is this? No, I don't remember
Yeah.
you. I'm sorry. Who are you?" and then he goes, oh, sure, I can do that. And then he turns and he's like, do you guys know who Ramayo? Anyway, yeah, go ahead.
Guys, I think Virgil finally snapped.
Apparently he spent a lot of money on these arcane messages, and I have no fucking clue who he is.
All right, so what's the name one more time?
Ramayo Alcasti?
Alcasti.
Alcasti? Ramayo Alcasti.
This is someone you met in Sonatron or Casimir or...
In Casimir when I was there for the lordship ceremony. But the thing is, I talked to quite a few new people that day, and I don't remember who they all are. You know how it is. People at a party, you log their name.
Yeah, I mean, Oleander, you spent a long time with those folks. Does that name ring a bell to you?
I'm checking my phone book, and I do not... Oh, I definitely know this man. I was spelling his name wrong in the search bar. That guy, of course I know that guy. I love that guy. He is the many times great-grandson of Honoria Alcasti, a Taldan general stripped of rank and noble title for failure suffered during the Great Campaign. Romeo Alcasti only has incomplete reference to his ancestors' heroism and title, and he longs to exonerate her name and regain the noble title that he believes he deserves.
Oh, yeah, I remember this guy. Okay.
Yeah, I heard all about it.
So this Romeo is calling Virgil just to ask him to help him regain his noble title?
No, well, so I guess the memory of some druid is in a black tree, and he wanted to see if I could help him get that memory.
What?
A druid is in a black tree.
No, there's some knowledge that he's interested in acquiring from a black tree.
Do you know
does that mean anything to you?
Do you know that the entirety of the Return Force is made up of blackwood trees? Was he a little more specific?
No, he just told me it's in a black tree.
I thought the term was Verduran mahogany. Is that not what we're...
Nobody calls it that.
I feel like this guy didn't use his expensive arcane messages very effectively if he didn't tell you where to find this black tree.
You clearly made an impression on him, though.
Yeah, where does he want you to meet up with him at?
He's gonna head to Sonatron.
Oh.
He wants us to go all the way back to Sonatron to meet with him?
Did you tell him?
I mean, I guess he knows that we're in the Verduran Forest, so I guess he just assumes we're going to be heading back to Sonatron eventually. So.
Okay, I suppose did he give a timetable? Is this pressing?
No. No.
Okay.
So I don't know. I guess. Sorry, God. So what was the exact detail he said? He said he wanted knowledge from a black tree?
From a... he said that the Wildwood Lodge druids tell of a blackwood tree that remembers the time that Honoria Alcasti led an army in the Verduran Forest.
Honoria Alcasti?
Oh.
I mean, sounds like then we're in the perfect place to find out wherever this tree is.
I would agree.
I mean, I'm trying to think I mean, so I had mentioned to you guys that there are other druidic circles and all that. There's the Blackwood Moot, and they do have a treant there who's very old. Could be the man he's talking about, but I'm not sure.
That sounds interesting.
Aren't the people that you're friends with the Oleander Wildwood Lodge folks? People you just met?
Why are they Wildwood Lodge? That's tricky. No. No, not really.
Sound very tricky.
It's not tricky at all. They're not Wildwood Lodge. They have relationships with the Wildwood Lodge, but they themselves are not members of the Wildwood Lodge.
Gotcha. Do you know anyone in the Wildwood Lodge?
I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
Do you know anyone in the Wildwood Lodge?
I know a few people. Rebecca Roselight, the female fairy you met. She is a member of the Wildwood Lodge. She is a very powerful sorcerer of Gazra. Yeah, that's it. And that's it. And Valinar. And the Wild Watcher.
I just met Kido.
Yeah.
And I befriended a man named
Wildwood Lodge. Okay, well, it seems like there's a lot of people I could potentially ask about it, but I guess that can wait.
Sorry, go ahead, Oliander.
I was just say, if it is the treant I'm thinking of, how do you say his name, Bruce? Oakidence?
Oakidence, yeah.
Oakidence. If it is Oakidence, the elder treant that I'm thinking of, he's sort of the leader of the Blackwood Moot. It's pretty far away from here, though. It'd be kind of a long journey. But he is very old, so if this guy's talking about a tree that remembers something from the past, I'm sure he knows something. But like I said, that is far away.
I guess just to clarify, because I know that you guys mentioned that this person, is he a lord? Is he a Taldan lord? You said he's looking to restore.
He's sort of a displaced lord. Like his family used to have influence in Taldor, now they don't.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you mentioned that he's trying to restore that influence. I mean, did he explain his motive behind needing this information? Is it directly tied to that goal of his, or was this for some other purpose?
Oh, so his great. Actually, I have no idea whether it's great grandmother or great grandfather.
It's a lot of greats. You're talking about Honoria Cassidy, the Taldan general.
Yeah.
I'm not sure completely, but she led. She suffered some failures as a general during the Great Campaign. I don't know specifically a lot about the Great Campaign, but perhaps this whole Romeo talking about her leading an army to the forest, perhaps that is the Great Campaign. But
yeah, Romeo's family got stripped of their titles and honors because of Honoria's supposed failures, and apparently there's a tree that remembers success.
Okay, so it is directly tied to restoring his family's reputation, basically.
Yeah.
Do they deserve that?
I have no idea.
I mean, I guess the more important question isn't if they deserve it. I mean, the more important question is, I mean, if we help this guy, does that give us a useful ally in terms of our goal of sort of disrupting the powers that be in Casimir?
It definitely would, right? I mean, if we are directly responsible for him regaining his nobility, he would at least owe us a few favors.
Yeah, I guess my question more is do we have insight into, restoring his family's reputation? What sort of place does that put him in terms of power within Casimir? I mean, are we talking like a, super old money family can pull lots of strings if people like them again, or is this like a sort of?
I don't think he has much of anything left.
Go ahead.
Was my impression.
Virgil, and I'll give Oliander a go here as well. Virgil and Oliander, go ahead and give history checks. Ooh, so close to a 20. Okay. All right, so 10s. Aside from Ramayo himself mentioning that his family is one of high honor and station and ought to be restored to their former glory, Oleander, you've heard this refrain maybe a couple more times. The truth of the claim, you don't have any perspective one way or the other as to its truth. And Virgil, you know that you've heard the name House Alcasti before, maybe as like mentioned as a joke in passing, but outside of that, just the case where you met Ramayo Alcasti and he was kind of beseeching you for assistance.
Yeah, a lot of the nobles kind of make fun of him at this point. He's tried several times to sort of convince people that he is deserving of his family's old title and all that, but I don't know. Like you were saying, Ulfgar, he'd definitely be useful as far as gaining an ally of nobility. But I mean, even if you did restore his title, I don't think he would command too much respect.
Ooh, actually,
he wouldn't have any immediate influence.
Quickly, I just realized Sagan should also actually get a history check.
Ooh, I'm on it.
Ooh.
Ooh, Sagan with a 17. Okay, so with a 17, Sagan, you actually, from your childhood tutelage in the histories of Taldor, you recognize the Alcasti name as a once very well-renowned and powerful house that was besmirched with accusations of treason during the defeat of one of the great armies of Taldor during the Grand Campaign against Kadira in ages past. So the family was once rather powerful, but was their reputation was torn to shreds by rumors. As far the history books that you've read, they're not rumors. They're the fact of Anaria's treasonous failures in the Grand Campaign.
Okay. Sagan chimes in and says, personally, I don't think that restoring this guy or helping out this guy will give him the power of his former nobility. His family reputation has been in the gutter for decades upon decades. If we want to help him because you have a friendship with him, Virgil, that's fine, but I don't think there's much to gain there in terms of our overall goals in life. I personally care much more about healing this blighted forest.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not out of our way.
All right. All right. So with that discussed, the lot of you, Shibello sort of leading the pack with most of his attention focused on the ground before him, and occasionally looking up to try and make sure he's still oriented in the right direction. And sure enough, just over the ridge or just over the rise, you see the tall, 20-foot high standing stones jutting out over the sparse canopy of trees ahead, and so just where you're headed. And as you all make your way up, the rise toward the top of the hill is kind of a steep one as you actually get there, and the standing stones sit, yes, at the top of a steep little hill, and there are sort of like trees and the wooded area all around, but this area that the standing stones are kind of arrayed in a circular pattern around is mostly clear, right? It's a clearing, and you all see as you approach these sort of radiant symbols, gently pulsating with sort of light blue light, in a number of different symbols on each one, large symbols that seem to be almost carved into the standing stones that you can see. And in the center, there must be some. It looks like some sort of stone altar, a massive stone altar. But what's the most striking thing that you see is that kneeled in front of sort of between you and the altar, with its back turned to you, is a hulking figure of muscle and more muscle. This figure that again is not facing you, has a from behind you can see these large horns rising from either side of its head, and it's wearing just kind of the loose and minimalistic leathers of an individual who struggles to find clothes in their size, and resting on their left shoulder that you can see from behind is what appears to be a skull pauldron, not too different from the kobold skull pauldrons that Eulogy has sported from time to time, and this figure seems to be kneeling at the altar and facing away from you. A sort of shock, a tangled shock of bright red hair on the back of their head, as you guys kind of walk up behind.
Do they seem to be like actively engaged in a ritual then? Some sort of ritual here?
If you sort of pause to sort of investigate that, roll a perception or investigation from a distance. I guess that's fine. Yeah, either one, your choice. All right. So with an 11, you try and assess what this individual might be up to, and as far as you can tell, Ulfgar, they seem to just be kneeling, facing the altar, and you can't quite see their hands, but you do see a massive hammer, a maul, really, that's set in the grass, set down in the grass to their right side. The maul itself consisting of what looks like it might have been a rather large tree branch and an equally large rough cut stone, a white stone.
Okay. And the symbols that we see, do they appear to be letters or images, or what do they look like?
Ulfgar would have no idea. What you do know is that they aren't dwarven runes or symbols. And they don't really look like arcane symbols that you've encountered before. They're very different. Shibello would interpret that a little bit differently. Shibello, they remind you of the druidic symbology. That they're not really words, more so than they are symbols for concepts. Concepts like stillness, sort of quiet feeling that one has when all they can hear is the wind and nothing else. The feeling of sunlight warming your skin, right? They're not really words. There's just concepts that you're familiar with from your impressions from Gazra.
All right. Shibello's going to be less concerned with the hulking figure and be looking around for an elephant-looking person.
Okay. So Shibello, you cast your gaze around. Go ahead and give me a perception or investigation check. And I assume you guys are, while you're sort of, looking on or investigating or trying to perceive things, that you are keeping your distance from the actual stone circle.
Okay. Yeah, Virgil does not go near the stone circle. Okay.
So, Shibello Bright Tusks, you got a natural 1, my friend, and that's not the best. So, you look around and you do not see any trace of an elephant folk here. It seems like this figure that sits, this like large figure is sort of occupying this stone circle solitarily.
Solitary.
Kind of frustrated because he feels like maybe he just missed him or whatever. He'll call out in Druidic to the hulking figure and say, "Excuse me, do you have a minute? I'm sorry to interrupt your peacefulness."
So yeah, when you call out, the figure that had kind of had its head slightly dipped forward from where it was kneeling, you see its head clearly and distinctly sort of picks up, and you see this figure, this individual, kind of rest its right arm on the stone altar as it picks up one of its knees and slowly turns around, and as it does in this sort of like half kneeling position, it turns its head around, and you realize as it does so that red shock of hair, it's not hair so much as it's more like a mane, and it turns its face around towards you, and you see sort of nestled within this individual's red mane, is almost like a baboon-like face, but in which is set only one small eye. And this individual turns back toward you and sees Shibello and sees the rest of you behind, and it stands up. It sort of continues to stand up, turns to face you all, and it says, "Who approaches? Commodamodane!"
I am Shibello Bright Tusks, and I'm looking for Anaji Goldtusks. I was told he may be here.
Shibello Bright Tusks. Well, Shibello, friend of Anaji you might be, but cavorting with the likes of these?
What is that supposed to mean? Who are these?
You! You stink. You stink of sheep. You stink of muddy roads. You stink of civilization. That you would call it, at least. Who let you into this domain?
Myrna Rolltest let us in, and do not worry. Myself and my fairy friend here are making sure that our more civilized partners don't mess anything up.
Come forth, Shibello. Come forth and stand before Commodamodane. Be judged.
Shibello will step forward.
Alright, so Shibello steps forth. And as you enter the vicinity, it's just like, as you walk up, it's clearer and clearer just how massive this guy is that has introduced himself as Commodamodane. And he watches you approach, and as you do, you come close to him, and he says in Druidic, he says to you, "Step over there." And he sort of points to his left-hand side in front of one of the standing stones that says on it it's sort of the concept of the clearness of one's reflection in the water, in still water.
He'll follow what his instructions are given.
All right. So you step over there, and Commodamodane sort of looks back over to the rest of the group, and he says, "Fairy, come forth to be judged by Commodamodane."
Is he like casting a spell every time he says his name? Like it sounds.
Commodamodane isn't like a magic dude. Oliander will be like, yeah, he's a big talker, big old brute of a guy, but he's not really like a magic dude. Oliander will scurry on up.
All right. So you scurry on up, and Commodamodane, you know, just the same, regards you, and then he looks over at Shibello, and he says, "Stand with your friend." Sort of like pointing for Oliander to step over to just where Shibello is.
All right.
All right, and then once you're over there, Commodamodane looks out at the rest of your companions, and he says, "Come, companions of Shibello, stand before Commodamodane and be judged."
Ulfgar will approach and stand next to his friends, and as he's striding over, he will sort of adjust his clothing such that his spirit of the bear totem is very prominently hanging in front of his chest as he stands before Commodamodane.
Okay, so Ulfgar approaches. I don't want to assume anybody else approaches.
Eulogy will approach.
He asked everybody to approach?
Yep.
Approach.
Yeah, he said companions of Shibello.
Sagan approaches begrudgingly.
Begrudgingly, all right. So begrudgingly, Sagan follows. All right, so as the rest of you step forward, Ulfgar, you being sort of at the front of that pack, you do that little maneuver to sort of put on display your totem of the bear, and as you do this, you see the one little beady eye in the center of this massive being's head, kind of staring down at you, and it goes, "Oh, what's this? You bear a totem? Step forward, dwarf, and present it to me."
Oh, okay. He does that.
Okay, so he said, so as you start to step forward, Commodamodane, you know, he's hulking over you, right? And he reaches down, and he just brushes your beard to the side with his hand.
Call me daddy.
Man, they were both boys. Mwah.
And so as he looks down at your totem, he says, "Only the strong can bear such a totem, little one."
Okay, now I'm confused. I don't know if I should be offended or complimented.
Are you saying that out loud?
But no, Ulfgar is thinking this to himself, but he will ultimately decide to be complimented, and so he will have a big grin on his face and sort of nod and like, yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Strong.
So Commodamodane, as you like, you know, flex a little bit your muscles, Commodamodane says, "You and I will test our mettle against each other."
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, you are the one. And Commodamodane stands up, or rather, sort of stands back up from where he sort of crouched down to observe your totem, and turns to reach down and scoop the tree branch of a mall that was lying in the grass at his side, and he sort of sets it at his side with the base of the maul in the grass, and he says, "Tell me your name."
My name is Ulfgar Deepiron of High Helm.
Ulfgar Deepiron. That is a strong name. Deep.
Yes, it is.
Iron. It will take iron in your bones to defeat me, Ulfgar. You step there. And he points over to where Shibello and Oliander stand.
I will go and stand by them.
All right. So I think Eulogy would be next in line, so to speak. I mean, you guys aren't necessarily in a line, but
and I guess like he's wanting to fight Ulfgar one-on-one.
Oh, he has basically declared that they will fight.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
he's not aggressive at all. At least, well, I mean, I guess he kind of is aggressive, but he's not like, actively posturing to fight Ulfgar right now.
Okay. All right. I guess Eulogy is gonna pull out his Reveler's Concertina, and he is going to play kind of like a swashbuckly sea shanty type of song. That just is slightly ominous, and he's gonna say, "I'm ready to heal you when you die, Ulfgar."
I appreciate the confidence.
So Commodamadain gives you just like a come here like finger gesture, Eulogy.
Oh, me? Okay. Eulogy will play slightly quieter, although he will continue, and then he will approach. And he will say, "Hello, Commodamadain. That'd be a great flighting name if you ever want to get in the game of it,
So Commodamadain doesn't say anything to you. He points at your concertina, and he sort of like, once again beckons you with one finger, like to come further forward.
All right. Okay. All right. Eulogy will take one more step forward, and he will play slightly louder on the concertina, and he'll say, "Is this good? Right here. Is this where you want to kill me?"
Give it to me.
Wait, this my concertina?
Yes, give it here.
May I ask why?
To be judged.
You need this to be judged? To judge? Eulogy will look around and he'll just start to slowly give it over.
Okay. So you give it to into Commodamadain's outstretched massive hand. He takes it and he turns around. He turns around to the altar. He sets it down on the altar, and he takes his hammer and and he turns around and he hefts this massive maul that he has in his hand and slams it down onto the concertina resting on the stone. And as he does, there's like a like, you know, sort of sound as the concertina is just smashed to pieces. And he
nice.
He looks at it. You know, he pulls his hammer back up and he looks at it and he says, "It was judged unworthy."
All right. Well,
What should you spend on that?
I'm just blacking out on the cost of it, really. But, you know, I'm glad to be rid of it. Kamadama, damn it.
Watch your tongue, little elf. You stand before the most highest power of the earth. Kamodamodane is unlike any you have ever seen.
That's very true. And Eulogy will turn around to the friends with wide eyes, and he's basically just gonna say, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah, I mean, at seeing that, Shibello's gonna speak up in Druid and say, "My good Kamadama Day, we really must find a Naji Gold Tusk. What's going on?"
Do you think that I am a Naji's gatekeeper? Do you think that I sit here waiting all day for people to come calling on a Naji golden tusk? I am Kamodamodane, the mighty.
Well, if he wasn't, I was told he was here. That's why I was asking if you had seen him. But if you haven't, we really must be on our way to find him before he leaves.
Oh, I've seen a Naji golden tusk. He's just off in the bushes over there. And he like takes one of his hulking fingers and just like points with his thumb over his shoulder. And it's around that time that you see the figure of a glamorously dressed Loxodon individual with a headdress of brilliant gold, and sort of white linen insets and trims. This brilliant white flowing gown with pauldrons finely crafted that of golden plate, and long ivory tusks adorned with gold caps on either one. This individual comes walking from behind and says, "Did I hear a calling for my name? Hello? Yes. Kamadamodane, settle down." And the elephant individual sort of, you know, approaches from behind Kamadamodane and looks at you all there. Most of all at Shibello. And he says, "Well, you've finally found your way home, kinsman." And that's where we're going to stop and pick it back up next week.
Yeah, Shibello just has one question before that. Or how far away is he?
He's maybe 20 feet away.
Shibello wants to specifically see if he has like a brand similar to his own, like on his body somewhere that he can see.
So his headdress covers the portion of his kind of forehead and down. If you think of like the Greek helmets, ancient Greek helmets where they have to cut that nose piece that comes down, he's got something similar on his headdress. So you don't see anything. No.
Okay. That's it then.
All right, but that's where we'll pick back up next week. So
Solid cliffhanger.
solid.
Alright, sounds good, baby.
Fur, fur, fur.